When it comes to Frozen 2, this was a movie that was years in the making because of the original was such a Disney classic that the team behind it didn't want to just make a sequel unless they felt they could expand upon the world and characters in a meaningful way. Unlike basically all the Disney sequels from the 90s, I'm just saying. Anyway, the movie was vast and had a lot in it, so allow us to show you everything you missed. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 10. 2 scenes, same night. In both Frozen and Frozen 2, we see both Anna and Elsa together at night doing different things. But if you really pay close attention, you'll see that they're wearing the exact same outfits because these 2 scenes took place on the same night. Ironically, Frozen 2's scene was first in terms of the timeline, and then the original story was from after the story was told, and thus the two went downstairs and made Olaf. This kind of continuity is just what you would expect from the House of Mouse, and the references on that night don't end there. Because if you look at the other snow creatures that Elsa is making, she makes Dumbo, as well as Baymax from Big Hero 6 next to her left knee. And if you really look closely, next to Baymax is Bolt, a lesser appreciated Disney dog. Think that's a bit random? Not even close. Number 9. The Chris Williams Trinity. Most times you'll never pay attention to the behind-the-scenes stuff of a movie like Frozen because you're too caught up in the awe and wonder of it. But if you did, you'd notice that Chris Williams is part of the animation team for Frozen. But if you watch the other 2 movies we just mentioned, Big Hero 6 and Bolt, you'll note that Chris Williams was the director for the former and the writer for the latter. So yeah, this guy gets around. Not only that, but clearly he has a lot of skills because he wears a lot of hats at Disney. And if you wanted to add another hat to this list, he's the voice of the shopkeeper in Frozen 2. Big summer blowout. So props to you, Chris Williams, for being so good at being so good. Number 8. Taking inspiration from a classic. There are a lot of things that go into every single scene of a Disney movie, especially when that movie is in 3D, and you have to think about things like scale, scope, lighting, and more. When it came to the forest of Frozen 2, the team behind the scenes took inspiration from a Disney classic in Sleeping Beauty. They looked back at the scenes where the prince was riding to the forest, as well as the art that was done of how the tree should look. If you think about it, Disney has done virtually every kind of movie out there that you can make for kids. So if they didn't take inspiration from the past ones, they're missing out on a great resource. Number 7. The Little Mermaid. Speaking of Disney inspiration, there are several references to The Little Mermaid in the film if you know where to look. Like when Elsa is doing her self-discovery on the dark sea and climbs up to a pointed rock. Does that look familiar? It should. It's very similar to the one that Ariel sang during one of her mini songs. Still not enough? Well, later on when Elsa is seeing the frozen moments in time, she sees her parents when they were young and her father is reading a book that has a silhouette of Ariel. It even says that some Danish author wrote it, which is true because the author of the original Little Mermaid story was Danish. And suddenly I'm hungry for a Danish pastry, but I digress. Number 6. The Snow Queen. Oh wait, did you think we were done with that Danish author? Hardly. He actually is the creator of Elsa. Wait, how does that work? Simple, the author of The Little Mermaid and other fairy tales was Hans Christian Andersen. He wrote the book back in 1836, which means Frozen as a story takes place after that. And another book he wrote was called The Snow Queen. Get it? Snow, Queen, Elsa, Frozen. As Agent Coulson would say, it's all connected. Number 5. Don't put your Hans together. One of the big twists of the first Frozen film was that Hans wasn't a nice guy at all. And Disney and his team wanted to make sure you were reminded of that in both Frozen 2 and beyond. During the Frozen moments of time, we see Hans briefly before Elsa casually flicks him away and breaks the snow memory. That's cool, eh? Also though, remember Chris Williams? When he directed Big Hero 6, which was after the original Frozen that he worked on, he had Baymax accidentally destroy a statue that was clearly Hans. We think that Disney really didn't like the guy. And we didn't either. Number 4. Let It Go. Yeah, we had to bring this up because it's an important part of the series. During the Frozen moments in time, we see Elsa in snow form singing Let It Go. and the present version of Elsa is a little bit embarrassed at her past self. Why is that an Easter egg? Because when Disney made Frozen, they honestly didn't intend for it to be the mega hit that it became. But one of the reasons it was such a hit was because of Let It Go. The performance, the choreography was all such top notch that every kid was singing it after the movie, many years since. Let It Go is basically the song of the generation, much to the annoyance of parents who had to beg their kids to stop singing it. And thus, Disney put that moment in as if to say, our bad. Number 3, Water Spirit. One of the key moments of Frozen 2 was when Elsa met the water spirit that was called the Knock, and it was shaped like a horse. As revealed, it was this spirit that controlled the waters, and it promptly tried to kill Elsa before she tamed it and rode it like a prize stallion. But if you recall Frozen, her parents died in a storm, a water storm. So doesn't that mean that the Knock was responsible for her parents' death? And yet, she's riding it and being nice to it. I'm getting mixed messages here. Number 2, Rain. Oh dear. Yeah, a little one here because it's very much a dark plot point. When we meet the new folks of the village, we see that they're caring for reindeer. But if you look in the corners, you'll also see reindeer bones from after they ate them. Yuck! Number 1, Ice Castle. Another big moment from the original Frozen is when Elsa makes her ice castle. Frozen 2, when they're traveling to the Great Unknown, we see that the castle is still there. Why? Why not? And there you have it, 10 things about Frozen 2 that you might have missed or didn't fully understand. Do you like Frozen 2 even more now that you know more of the little things in it? Which of these facts or secrets did you find the coolest? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time on the channel.